Yo, what's poppin' everybody? Zabo54. I'm gonna show you guys my updated Slaking deck here. This Pokemon from Celestial Storm. It's actually a really good stage 2, in my opinion. I think a lot of people don't really realize the great merits of this Pokemon. So ever since the rotation happened, we haven't really had any serious intense ability lock going in the game. You've got Glaceon GX, but that's only for GX and EX Pokemon. You've got the Alolan Muck that basically acts like a silent lab, only lock in basic Pokemon abilities, and that's pretty good too. But the really great ability lock in is when you can block everything, which is what Lazy does, and it actually only does it for your opponent. This Pokemon combines a really good ability lock in Pokemon with a strong or a solid attack at the very least on a stage 2 package, which is something really interesting. So 160 HP, solid enough. It's a colorless Pokemon and it works with any energies, so it's very flexible. We're going to be taking advantage of that for sure in this deck. Fighting weakness can be a bit troublesome, but fighting decks have kind of gone down a bit in popularity for some reason. I don't even know why. When lightning Pokemon are so popular, but that's just how it is. So maybe that's going to be good for this Pokemon. And then Free Retreat can be troublesome, but we have a bunch of ways to mitigate that problem. So the best aspect of this Pokemon is of course Lazy. As long as this Pokemon is active, your opponent's Pokemon in play have no abilities except for Lazy. So your abilities do work, even if your opponent isn't going to have any abilities. So if you have like, let's say, Naranguru down, you want to use its ability, or you run other Pokemon with abilities, you can use them. I don't really run these sorts of Pokemon in this deck. We run a few other things, but I just thought I'd mention that. This is strictly ability lock for your opponent. The other good thing this Pokemon has is critical move. So for 3 colorless energy, meaning that you can slap any basic energy and a DC and make this attack work, it does 160. Pretty good. You slap a choice band, you're in that 190 range. You can knock out a lot of good things in one shot. And when combined with the Shrine of Punishment that adds damage counters on GX Pokemon, you can basically knock out even the biggest GXs eventually, at the very least. If you don't get an outright one-hit KO, you can sort of make them die in your opponent's turn with Shrine of Punishment, which is also very good. And of course, with 160, anything else that's not a GX Pokemon, it's going to be taken care of in one hit. Really, the only Pokemon that survive an attack like this are going to be other Stage 2 Pokemon with 170 HP, and there are not even a lot of those around, or even very good. So it's a pretty nice Pokemon, I really like it. And we're going to go with the same premise as my previous deck list, just slightly different. Now you got to run your 4 Slackouts, of course. We only have this one. It's not the greatest, but I guess it does the job done, being a basic Pokemon, 60 HP. And then we've got a Vigoroth here. You can do Fury Swipes and a Rage, I guess. Maybe that's going to come up, but you just run this for your Stage 1 dude. And then we run a bunch of Energy Acceleration Pokemon that attack and get energies from the discard pile. Uh, the previous deck list used Registeel. This one uses Raikou, and Raikou is much better for a number of reasons. Number one is that the lightning type usually can hit more things for weakness than metal, so that's one good thing. So if your opponent has a lightning weak Pokemon and we attack with this dude, we can do a little bit more damage. And also, being that we grab lightning energies with this dude and we run basic lightning energies, means we can take advantage of Volkner better. This dude can act like a sort of sky level limitations, but it fetches us a lightning energy too. So that gives me more consistency, more searchability, and that's nice. So this is why I think if you're going to run a Pokemon like this, an energy acceleration Pokemon that attacks and grabs energies, this is better than something like Registeel. I think there's a few other options. Maybe you can use, I don't know, I guess like Moltres, that grabs them from the hand, a bunch of other Pokemon, but I think this is the best option. Also, as much as I like Registeel, I like Raikou even better. So very good. All right, so you got around 3 of these, great opening Pokemon, and this is basically how this deck is meant to be played. We open up with a good opening Pokemon like, let's say, Raikou, and start dumping energies with Ultra Ball, and then start grabbing them back, putting damage on it with Booming Thunder, and it also softens up Pokemon, and Slaking can get an easier one-shot that way with critical move. If your opponent's Pokemon has 30 damage already from Raikou, let's say, and it's a stage 1 GX, it's much easier to get KO'd with this guy later on with just a choice band. So that's the other, our sort of main support Pokemon, I guess you could say, Raikou, 3 of these. And then I've got only 2 other Pokemon actually. I've got this Jirachi. This Pokemon is amazing. And you guys have seen it, how popular it was in the Oceania National Championship. A lot of people didn't see it coming, it seems. To me, it was very obvious. This Pokemon based on the EX Deoxys Jirachi. Just as good, if not even better, with Stellar Wish. You have this Pokemon active, and you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, get any trainer, and then this Pokemon is asleep. And just like Puka mentioned, like the old EX Jirachi, you couldn't use the ability again if it was asleep, affected by a special condition. But this, you can just do it again. I grabbed any card, but this is still very, very good. So this is going to be a very nice supporting Pokemon. We want to open with this or even Raikou. Either Raikou or Jirachi, what I meant to say. And this is where the Furamasa comes in here. Since I don't have an additional Jirachi or other Pokemon like that to run, this Pokemon is a free retreater. If I open with it, I can move it out of the way and put Raikou in the active position or Jirachi depending on the game state. If you play second, then maybe having this guy in front and starting attacking immediately is the best thing. It really depends on your hand, what consistency options you have. Either Raikou or Jirachi can be pretty good depending on the game state. But this is why Furamasa is in here. I guess you can attack with high jump kick too and do some damage doing 20. I guess if you slap a choice band and you hit grass weak Pokemon for weakness, you can do a little bit of good damage. I mean, you're going to hit 100 for grass weak Pokemon against GX Pokemon that are weak to grass, but normally even against things like Lycanroc GX, we would rather take care of them with Slaking and get a one-shot that way. So this Pokemon is mostly for free retreat. If you have Tapu Koko, the one that spreads, it's probably a better option, but you know I don't have that either, so that's why I run this. If you do run a Tapu Koko though, you don't really want to, I mean I guess maybe if you start spreading with DC it's not so bad, but you want to conserve your DCs for this guy, of course. Alright, so these are the Pokemon, pretty simplistic. Like I've said, the strategy is pretty simple. You start with Raikou and make a few cheap attacks, get energies on the Slaking, you slap DCs and this guy's ready to go. Or, you know, if you start with Jirachi, you can search your cards to set up Slaking that way if you play first. And even if you open with this guy and get him out like quick and you have that ability lock there, a lot of decks just can't really function. Like you limit your opponent's cards a lot. A lot of these decks that rely on abilities and even Pokemon that really need abilities to get going, like the Lost March deck, you stop them in their tracks. So I feel like this guy can have a lot of good matchups if he's active and the lazy ability is in effect. But anyways, these are the Pokemon. Pretty simple. For the trainers, we gotta run our 4 candy, get this guy out quick. We gotta have our balls to get our Pokemon out quickly. Of course, I run 3 Nest Ball in this deck, and we run 3 Ultra Ball too, which is why I'm confident that if we open up with, let's say, Furamasa, then I should be able to easily get one of my other Pokemon in play, like Raikou, Jirachi if we play first. If you see a bunch of Slack-Offs too, then you're probably searching these Pokemon with the Nest Balls. Ultra Ball, of course, the best thing you can search with this card is Slaking, since we don't have any other way to get a stage 2, search a stage 2 out like that. Very good. And you dump your energies in the discard pile for Raikou to grab them back. So classic little combo, akin to the Yveltal from X and Y when that card was released, doing that sort of strategy. Alright, I gotta have my typical text here. We have double switch. Double switch instead of 1 in this deck is very important because Slaking, unfortunately, one of its drawbacks is that it can't use critical move in succession. If you use this attack, then you can attack during your next turn. Sometimes, even if you just can't attack and you're just sitting there, if your opponent can't do shit, it doesn't really matter because you might be stuck for 1 turn either, but if you play this deck right and you play against the right deck, your opponent is going to be stuck not doing anything as well. So not so bad, but the switch is very important as well. And we run a bunch of other switching options. I guess I'm going to look at those later since this is a form of supporters. But you got to run those. I still run the double field blower. You never know what good thing you're going to discard, what tool or stadium you want to discard from your opponent. So nice to have this card around. One Judge Whistle here. Just straight draw card. I like this better than Acrobike. I know that Acrobike gives you the option to choose which one you want to get in hand from 2 cards, but I don't like the fact that I have to discard something. I want to keep my resources as possible. I want to keep my resources if possible. Can't even talk. So that's why I like Judge Whistle better. There's no Judge in here to recycle. It's just a draw card. It's still good. Gotta run one Stretcher here. You would possibly use this to get an additional Slaking in play. We run 3. 3 is a good enough number. If you want to do 4, that's fine. Anything less than 3, though, is probably too little. But maybe we get back, I don't know, like Raikou or Jirachi. Probably not Raikou, but maybe Jirachi. You never know when it might be handy. Mostly it's going to be Slaking, though. But you can grab any Pokemon, of course. Next up, we got our, well, I have my tools here that we got to run. You got to run Triple Choice Band here. This card is very important. It's basically a KO assister. Boosts Slaking's damage a lot further in that 190 range. We can get one-shots. And in conjunction with Shrine of Punishment, it's going to get you those knockouts on Stage 1 GXs too. Very, very good. You got to run this. Raikou can use it too, of course. Being able to do 60 for 1 is not bad against GXs. Why not? And let's see. Since I mentioned the shrines, might as well talk about it. This stadium is, of course, MVP. It's very powerful, very sought after from Celestial Storm. In between turns, you put 1 damage card on each Pokemon GX and Pokemon EX, I guess if you use this in Expanded. It's very, very powerful. It really is a key card in these anti-meta decks that are not running GX Pokemon. As you guys can see, there's no Tabulele GX in here too. I do have those, and you can run it if you want to, but since I'm running Shrine, I never want to give my opponent the chance to, get an easy 2 prize on a Pokemon like that gets softened up on my own stadium, or they can just pick it up, maybe get a one-shot, and they get 2 easy prizes like that. I want them to have to deal with the Slakings, to deal with my 1 prize Pokemon there, and that's why it's not in here. Jirachi is a very good replacement, either way. Okay, next up we got our 1 Energy Lotto here. I would have rather had something like Letter, but since we don't, Energy Lotto is good. Get us energies. The good thing about this card in this deck, at least, is that you can get those DCEs too, search those out, and that can be very, very handy. Very, very powerful, actually, being able to search a DC with this. So one of these is good as well. And I believe all that's left is the supporters here, and we run our standard stuff. 4 Cynthia is fantastic, you gotta run it. 1 Eriga is very good as well. A new card from Team Up helps out this deck a lot too. If your opponent sets up their bench quickly, this is gonna net us a lot of cards. Gotta have the 2 Lily too. This card is very good, especially in a deck like this where it discards energies with the Ultra Balls. If you want to use this turn 1, it's very good. I'd rather use something like this than something like Elm in a deck like this. So very good card, running 2 of these. Then we got our 2 Tatanlissa. So this card is solid, is not the greatest. Just shuffle and draw 5 is not as good as Cynthia, of course, but it has other important implications in this deck because switching is important. And a lot of these times I'm going to use these cards to just switch Slaking or switch another Pokemon. With the second effect, you have the ability to switch with this card too. It can become a switching card. So it's very handy, very flexible. It's good in a deck like this. It's not bad. Shuffle and draw 5. Or I should say it's not completely terrible. So good little supporter as well. And then Volkner, this is my Scala dude. Search out those rare candies. Search out any item. We can get the choice bands. We can get a lot of different cards. And of course, getting that additional lightning energy too thins out the deck more. It allows me, it softens up the Ultra Ball plays. We can dump the lightning energy with search that way. Do a lot of shit. It's just great when you can utilize a +1 like this. So 2 Volkner, very good. And then the last thing is basically the energies. You got to run 4 DCs as well, of course, for Slakin. Very, very good. And then the rest is 9 lightning energies. I run 13 energies. We want to make that energy lotto live. I don't want to miss it. It's one of the other problems it has over Professor's Letter, of course. And you want to have enough to dump for Raikou, but enough to manually attach every turn. You don't want to miss an attachment. That's going to be bad. But this is a deck, guys. It's pretty simple. It's nothing really spectacular. It's just a very simple way to build Slakin. And against the right deck and with the right setup, this Pokemon can be very, very strong. Like you guys are going to see, but I've been in situations where even if you get stuck and you have to pass a turn and not use critical move in succession, your opponent just gets stuck and they can't really do shit themselves. So lazy is a very, very strong ability. So believe that. Alright, so this is the deck, guys. Going to show you guys matches, of course, too, as always. I hope you guys subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like. Share this with your friends. My channel is an excellent hub for all things TCG, contemporary, and retro. And I'll see you guys on the next video, on the matches, basically. Thank you guys for watching. Saber04 will say...